Today's video is on a topic that I bring up every once in a while on this channel, and it's about how 501c3 type churches, or mainstream Christianity in general, it seems like they all follow the same unwritten rules where certain topics, like, they'll outright deny evolution, but then they'll buy completely in to the NASA worldview. They may reject something like the Big Bang by saying, well, God had to make it. The Big Bang didn't come out of nowhere. God caused it to happen. But they won't get into biblical cosmology and how it's not biblical, that the Big Bang is not biblical. Other planets with potential life forms on them is not biblical. And they don't ever really talk about how the NASA worldview contradicts what the Bible says. And here's just another thing that I think is gatekept. So I've made other videos on that. If you're interested, leave a comment. I'll try to find you a link. But today's video is about another thing that I have noticed, that most pastors gatekeep giants. And oh, I guess I didn't finish my thought earlier. You'll also see people outright reject evolution. So it's weird that, like, ball earth stuff is okay, but evolution is not okay. And similarly, today's topic is Noah's flood is a accepted thing, and Noah's Ark is going to be mainstream accepted. But why won't they talk about the Nephilim? It seems like there's a huge amount of gatekeeping in traditional, whatever you want to call it, 501c3 mainstream Christianity. Why aren't they talking about the Nephilim as a thing more often? And this is so interesting to me. And the giants. So today's video is about, why do pastors gatekeep giants? What is their deal? What is their agenda gatekeeping one of the more interesting parts of the Bible? So yeah, Noah's flood, super interesting, which, by the way, doesn't make any sense with ball earth. How does water just come out of nowhere on a spinny ball earth? But if you understand biblical cosmology and where you actually live, with waters above and a firmament and waters below, it's not that shocking that God has the ability to flood this place. And I mean, that's where I don't want to think for these people, but I would imagine that they think, well, anything's possible with God. Sure, I agree with that, but I don't think that God had to miraculously spawn water out of nowhere. I believe the Bible when it says that the heavens were opened up. There's actually windows in the firmament. That's another topic that is so gatekept. There's a reason that specific Bible versions are mostly used in the church, and it's to avoid words like firmament. The firmament is a solid structure between us and the waters above and the things in the heaven. That's another gatekeep, or I don't know if it's gatekeeping, people misled. Surely it's a bunch of bozos in the flat earth community. The sun is not a fiery ball below the firmament. It's beyond the firmament. These things are beyond the firmament. You can't get to the moon. The moon isn't like a rock that you can shoot a rocket to. Between us and the moon, there's the firmament. Anyways, this is turning into quite the ramble. Giants. So Noah is a well-accepted thing. Pastors will mention good points, very good points. Hey, every culture out there, more or less, you can find the most fringe out there in the middle of South America village, and they will have stories of a great flood. Well, they will also have stories of giants. Why aren't you bringing that up? Why is this a gatekept topic? Giants. And so I don't know. Leave a comment. Are there any pastors that happen to watch my video, friends of pastors, family of pastors, who can bring this topic up? Hey, how come church kind of is hush-hush about the fact that literal giants existed? And this is, again, another instance where if you use King James Version of the Bible, I don't want to get into, oh, King James was a Mason, King James that. Nobody here can corroborate that King James is a real person that ever existed or was just made up. The Bible stands for itself. It's a beautiful version of the Bible, and there's so much more truth if you choose to read that version of the Bible than, say, a more highly corrupt NIV Bible. And the KJV outright mentions giants. And if you use a more modern version, they will try to not have that so apparent. They, anyways, let's go through my slides. I've already said a lot. I've said my ramble. Pastors, what do you have to say about this? Why don't you talk about giants? People like giants. Just like every culture out there has stories about great floods, every culture out there has stories about giants. This is more evidence. I'm not trying to downplay the Noah's Ark thing, but you gotta... Why not the giant thing too? Why does it seem like there's gatekeeping when it comes to giants? And that's not even to get into the fact that there really is archaeological evidence for giant human beings, and that the Smithsonians go crazy trying to hide all that stuff and tell people that they're crazy for believing in giants. And about the Nephilim, another great point that doesn't get brought up because it feels like gatekeeping. All of the men of renown, the mighty men of renown that are talked about in the Bible around this time, I think that that's clearly the inspiration for the Greek lowercase g god mythology. And half of those stories, Hercules probably was literally a Nephilim. And I think that the Greek pantheon probably came from real people, real living offspring of Nephilim. And that's, I think, the most obvious interpretation of the relevant verses. And I think it's a shame that these topics get gatekept because they're so interesting. And why not talk about that? Because what? Are you afraid that the world's gonna mock you? Oh, haha, look at you, you believe in giants. Yeah, I believe in giants. I think that giants existed. Why is that so weird? What kind of crazy stuff do you believe in? Black holes and dinosaurs and stuff? Have you ever seen a dinosaur? Well, why do you get to believe in a dinosaur, but you think it's stupid that I believe that giant humans existed? And, yeah, that's mostly it. This stuff is cool. Christians should talk about this stuff and say, yeah, I believe in Nephilim. And the Nephilim were fallen angels. Why do you think that people on the world stage, actresses and actors and famous people, they love the star symbology? And that has to do with Book of Revelation, because these angels are talked about with like stars, a third of the stars falling down. So that's why they're obsessed with the star symbology. Satan came down as a lightning bolt. That's why a lot of times they're obsessed with the lightning bolt stuff. It's a big symbol. And what else? It's interesting, and it's true. It's true. Just like Noah's flood is true. Christians should be talking about the interesting truths that is the Nephilim and giants. It shouldn't be a gate-kept topic. There's Og of Bashan. I think that 9 feet is way too little. If somebody was 9 feet tall, they're big, but I mean, the Bible clearly talks about, like, we were grasshoppers in these people's eyes. And this is, why do pastors skip that? This is not the only time. So the reason that this gets skipped a lot is because Genesis is going to get talked about a lot, and Noah gets talked about a lot. Now, the other giant stuff is in, like, Book of Deuteronomy. When was the last time 501c3 church dug deep enough to go into Deuteronomy? I don't know. And does the Book of Numbers talk about giants at some point? I'm not sure. But I know that there's multiple instances in the Bible of giants. And, I mean, Exodus, right, is that when they said that they were seen as, like, grasshoppers? The great cities of the north, I think, used to be occupied by giants. That's why cities like Paris have these buildings that look like, hey man, that was made for and by giants. And I think it explains a lot of the huge, ancient, that was probably peak everything. Peak technology was probably around Noah's time. Just the Nephilim were probably gatekeeping it heavily and using it to deceive people and to do evil. And so maybe it is kind of special that nowadays we humble plebs have access to crazy technology. Maybe back in Noah's day. I really do believe that in Solomon's time there was nothing new under the sun. And so that means today too there's nothing new under the sun. Computers aren't new. It's just, I wonder how they were being used. that is it. I'm out of ramble. I've exhausted my ramble. Og. It's cool because it's like a caveman name, you know? Og. Men of renown. I think the only explanation for that is these are people that were so big. These people were so big, and not only like just in size, they were renowned, known all over the place. Hercules, the strongest man ever, was probably some juiced up Nephilim creation. And see, KJV says giants in the earth in those days, and the newer versions of the Bible, they don't make it so clear that these people were literal giants. Some interpretations of this passage, the sons of God were human kings. No way. I don't think that that's at all the right interpretation. The Nephilim were the result of human involvement with fallen angels or demons that altered their genes. Genetic stuff is actually really interesting. And yeah, other cool biblical facts that need to get talked about more are the old time spans, how long people used to live, and how that is connected with genetics, I think, is the most simple answer, that their genetic material was so much more robust. People wonder, like, well, why is cancer so common today? Well, how many generations have humans been around? It all came from Adam and Eve, and it was downhill from there. And corruption, you can only, from there, entropy. So, I mean, God did make this place amazing, and he made our bodies amazing. And the body's so capable of things that are just beyond what science can even tell us, in my opinion. And the body can repair broken DNA. Like, how does that stuff work? Just blows my mind. But I mean, even computer scientists out there, I know that there's some brainiacs that can write code that like fixes code, or, you know, think about data compression and stuff, how do JPEGs work and stuff, you know. So if people can figure that out, God did make this place really amazing, and our body can repair itself. But entropy is real, and humans, I think since Adam and Eve, our genetic material has only become more corrupted. So I thought this was really interesting that it talks about the genes with the Nephilim, because that was surely a huge corruption of the DNA when the Nephilim were introduced. I know people get a lot into Rh positive, Rh negative. I don't know. I'm squeamish. I don't like to talk about blood at all. So I don't look into that stuff, but it comes to mind. I really am not out of rambles, I guess. That's it, though. That's my last slide. Well, I've been missing making videos. I don't know. I've just felt kind of low energy recently, so I'll keep making videos, and I'll try to do at least one a week. I shouldn't go more than a week. That's too long to go without saying hi to you guys. God bless everyone.